So you don't have any student loans?
I ain't say that. No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I didn't say that. Listen, God, if you're listening, we still waiting on our student loan forgiveness.
Yes,
okay?
please. When is it gonna happen?
From representing Texas's 30th congressional district to her newly appointed position as national co-chair for the Harris Walz campaign, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has a name that rings bells in these political streets. With the 2024 election right around the corner, she's stepping into the shade room, dropping the facts you need, and setting the record straight.
What's up, roommates? It's your girl Tembi, and I'm out here at Cahill Maison, about to get my nails done with a wonderful queen, Miss Jasmine Crockett, stepping into the shade room.
Of course.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl, hey.
How are you?
I'm well. You know, life is lifing.
Life is lifing.
It has truly been a roller coaster so far for me as a freshman in the U.S. House, but it's nice to have 2 minutes to sip a little bit.
Okay.
Get these toes did.
Okay.
And all the things. So thanks for taking the time out to spend a little time with me.
We're gonna sip, get our nails done. What are you doing? You're
Listen, supposedly we freestyling a little bit.
Okay.
From what I understand, the agreement is that the specialty of the day is gonna be a little French manicure or pedicure, I guess. So yeah, we gonna do French on these toes.
Okay, I'm doing French on my fingers, so we'll be kind of sort of matching,
right?
It's
somehow. Just that the fingers and the feet not gonna be together, but that's okay.
Exactly. When you typically do your nails, like, are you like you know, long nails shorty, short nails shorty, natural shorty, tip shorty?
I'm natural and long. So my nails are mine.
These are your real nails?
These are my real nails. So we typically have to cut them down because they do grow. But since I've been in Congress, I haven't been able to be as expressive.
Okay. So you have to keep it nude? As
I used to be. Well, I never really was big into colors, but I used to like all my stones.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I like to send a message. I remember when my grandma died, I actually did a number of things on my nails that were dedicated to my granny. So usually around election time, I'll do something, and then specifically we'll talk about voting and that kind of stuff. But you never know. You may see like a Black Power fist on my nails. Like, you never know. So I probably will get a little froggier the closer we get to November 5th.
Right. In your career, would you say, is it acceptable if, you know, I'm sure everyone can do what they wanted, but if someone wanted to like have those like super, super long, like this length nails, is that frowned upon? Or
I guess it depends on who you talking about doing the frowning. You know, I will say Cori Bush is one that actually wears like very long nails. I personally don't, because I talk with my hands so much, and I just don't want them to be like the entire focus or a distraction from what it is that I'm saying. But if I didn't talk so much with my hands and know that people watch my committee hearings and they may be like looking at my nails instead of listening to what I'm saying, then I probably would do more. But when I'm away from the Capitol is when I feel most comfortable with kind of,
Well, you know, you're a very busy woman. You know, you're outside and, you know, in the political kind of way. You got people in your face all day. You're working, you're moving, very fast-paced environment. So what do you do, like, for fun or just, like, to relax after a long, hard day at work?
Yeah, so I don't really have fun nowadays. I'm hoping for fun soon, but typically I love to travel. So I love to like leave the country, go somewhere. Definitely November 6th. I haven't decided where I'm going, but I'm out. I'm gonna be somewhere after that, no matter what happens.
Like
I'm
tropical
on a plane.
vibes, or like what kind of
It'll
traveling?
most likely be, because it's November, I'm most likely gonna try to find a beach somewhere. So I love to travel. And otherwise, though, like on a regular schmegular day, like when I get home, like it's Netflix and chill.
What do you like to binge watch? Like, what's the latest show you binge watched?
Oh, I don't know if there's anything that I've watched here recently that I've binged, but I'm definitely a Shonda Rhimes girl. So long as Shonda's name is on it, I'm probably watching it, whether it's Bridgerton or otherwise. I love to watch legal shows, which is kind of annoying, right? Because it's like, girl, this is like your life.
What's your favorite one?
So most recently, Reasonable Doubt is one that I watch, but The Lincoln Lawyer is one that I really, I used to love Suits. Like if they would decide that they're going to do that again. But something tells me Megan is a little busy.
Yeah,
she's
ain't
not
trying
to go. Yeah. She's a little busy. She got other duties nowadays.
She ain't coming back. Yeah. Okay, so what would you say inspired you to get into a career in law and then eventually politics? Yeah,
so still debate every day whether or not politics is my thing.
Okay. You're so good at it.
Yeah, but it is a wild world. But so while I was in undergrad, I tell people all the time that God has to yell at me to get me to move, right? So I was the victim of a series of hate crimes myself, along with some of my classmates. And it was the very first time that I felt helpless and like did not know like what to do. And my school ended up getting the Cochran firm to come in, and the attorney that they brought in from the Cochran firm was a black woman who had graduated University of Houston School of Law. So she kind of became like my hero. They never figured out who did what. But just having somebody there as my advocate, it made me say, you know what, like this is what I need to do. Like I need to figure out how I can be that person for other people. But at the time, I was like focused on being a business major. I was going to become an accountant.
Was that your like goal? Like when you were younger, what was your dream? Your dream job?
No, when I was younger, I was going to be an anesthesiologist. I was always going to be a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, I was always a math and science girl. So I still to this day
STEM girly.
Yeah, I never took a poli-sci course.
Yeah.
I hated history classes, and I only did as much English as they required me to do. So the fact that I became a lawyer is real, like, wild.
Yeah.
And then I ultimately became a politician, obviously. But I also did this musical when I was in college, and it was the mock trial coach who actually recruited me and said, I need you to do mock trial. And I said, no, I'm going to be a business major. And he was like, yeah, but, like, we need some actual actors on our mock trial team. I'm like, well, you know, these people want to go to law school and they ain't gonna get in. So I did mock trial my senior year. It's the only year I did mock trial, and I became a national All-American.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, yo, like, will you listen to me now and go ahead and apply? So between being subjected to, you know, these racist attacks and him asking me to apply to law school, I applied. I got a full ride with a stipend. So I was like, if I don't like it, I'll quit.
Yeah, so you don't have any student loans?
I ain't say that. No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I didn't say that. Now, listen, God, if you're listening, we still waiting on our student loan forgiveness.
Yes,
okay?
please, when is it going to happen?
Listen, because it's funny, because when I'm out on the trail, I'm always talking about the fact that black folk are disproportionately burdened by student loan debt.
Yeah.
And when this administration came in, they were all about like, hey, we want to make sure that we can help people out with student loan debt. And black people like, well, what y'all doing for black people? I'm like, this is what they doing. They just don't say
for the black people,
right? But like we know the numbers. So I've spoken to my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I've spoken to Omega Psi Phi. They took me down, and I spoke before them about some things at their national convention as well. And so I do this thing where I know that if you're in a black sorority or fraternity, that means that you went to college.
Okay.
And I know the numbers. I know the majority of us ain't had the money to go to college, right? So I'll ask and I'll say, hey, you know, how many of y'all has student loans to go to school? Usually it's about 98% of the room raises their hands. And then I'll say, now how many of you have had your student loan debt relieved? Because I know how good my team is. Like, I don't have that personal testimony. I'm still waiting. But I do know how good they are, and I knew that they have relieved over $176 billion worth of student loan debt for over 4 million people.
It didn't get over here.
Listen, and mine ain't even that high. The numbers that are given, I'm like, yo, like you could probably get like 10 or 11 or 12 Jasmines for the price of like one somebody else.
Right.
Because the highest
that part.
The highest amount that I've been told as I've gone out and I've done this, it's $270,000. $270,000
for one person.
For one person. For one
person.
What
school did they go
like
to?
Like most people, well, they may have went to a lot of schools now, honey. Now, you know, we believe in having all of our letters behind our names, but nevertheless, like legit lives have been changed.
What would you say is there a likelihood that would ever even happen though, or is that just, you know? Yeah, what is the likelihood that student loans will actually ever be forgiven?
No, this is what has been told to me has been forgiven by one person.
Okay, no, but like overall.
Like all of ours?
Yeah.
Like you and me too?
Yeah. Like, wait, you know Kamala and them. Tell them hook us up real quick.
Listen, this Supreme Court ain't trying to do right by anybody that's poor.
Yeah.
A person of color. And ain't a man. So I mean, so literally, I just want to say here recently, the Supreme Court came down on them again as they were trying to relieve more student loan debt. So I'ma just keep praying and waiting and hoping, but nah, I don't really owe that much.
Well, you were appointed the national co-chair.
Yeah,
that's what it is, right? Yeah. National co-chair for the Harris administration. What does that entail? First of all, congratulations. But what does that entail?
Yeah, so essentially, every presidential campaign has co-chairs that oversee it. So obviously this was the Biden-Harris campaign, right? And now it's the Harris-Walz campaign. And so all the co-chairs that were already there for Biden-Harris, they still are there. But once the vice president became the nominee, she had some folk that she wanted to add. So she added some people from California because that's where she's from. She added Ted Lieu, who's also an AAPI person, which she obviously is Asian as well as Black. And then she definitely added some Black women to it. And so and I'm one of them.
I love that.
And essentially, like, there's no kind of job description that they give you, and it's like, these are your duties. You can do as much or as little as you want to. So some of the things that I'm focused on is trying to make sure that we are really connecting specifically with Black folk and specifically with younger Black folk. Because that's kind of a niche area that seemingly they really respond to me. So as we are dealing with things like homecomings coming up, like I want to make sure we had like all the HBCU homecomings and that people are seeing us. But I'm the girl that tends to show up at all the concerts as well. Like they'll put me on the concert stage, and I go out. So I believe in meeting people where they are. So I'm always the girl that wants to do the things that aren't necessarily the traditional way of campaigning. And I kind of get that latitude. I have a chief of staff that's assigned to me, assigned to all the co-chairs. And so when I have a random idea, I hit him up. I'm like, hey, David, like, I want to do such and such. Like, I really want to figure out if we can do something specifically around Black men, but I want all those conversations to be had and conducted with Black men. Like, I don't want it to be Black women coming at them, talking to them about, but I want like Black men to engage in political discourse. So I'm like trying to think that through and think about like, what does that look like just to have Black men have their own kind of safe conversations about their concerns about opportunities in the next administration or the lack thereof. Like, what is it that they want? Like, and how do you evidence that in the form of policy?
What do you think is the most, kind of tacking on that a little bit, what do you think is the most misunderstood issue in our community that you would want to address?
You know what, is that the president can make or break everything in your life, and it's just not how it goes, right? Getting people to really understand that it's not just a matter of who's in the White House, but it's who's in the U.S. House, who's in the U.S. Senate. And half the time, if I'm being honest, and this isn't a Black person issue, it's most people. They can't tell you like who their congressperson is or who their senator is or what it is that they have or haven't done. And so it makes it really tough when you're trying to say like, like the president has this agenda, but if they ain't got no help, it ain't going nowhere. But like, everybody wants to blame the president. Like we were just talking about student loans. They've done a lot and they wanted to do even more. But them being blocked isn't because this administration wasn't about their life. It's because of the Supreme Court. It's because the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate refused to say, let's just go ahead and come up with legislation to do this. This is something they were trying to do on their own.
Okay, so I want to play a little game. It's called Explain This to Me Like I'm 5.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think because kind of touching on what you said, there's a lot of like misunderstanding. People sometimes, to some extent, don't really understand, you know, politics or just the general of it all, right? So I'm going to give you a few things and then explain these to me like I'm 5. Okay, so the first one, how does, because you just kind of touched on the Supreme Court, how does the Supreme Court impact everyday life, and why are judicial appointments so important?
Oh my gosh. How am I supposed to explain that like you 5? Okay.
Or in a way that makes it very simple for the most basic person to understand.
Okay, so a couple of things. Supreme Court is just a hot mess. So I'm gonna just let that be the level set.
Okay.
But we obviously know that the Supreme Court is the one that took away our federal rights to abortion.
Right.
So essentially what it was the Roe case basically said, you know what, you have a right to privacy. We are interpreting that from the Constitution. So basically, like when you go into the doctor's office, just like you sign your HIPAA paperwork and everything, like the doctor can't go telling all your business, okay? Like it's all private.
Right.
Now they're saying, well, we don't know that you got a federal, like, constitutional right to that. We feel like the states should be able to decide when they can go into your doctor's offices and not. Like, so that's that. But like one of the things we don't talk about a lot is the Chevron case. The Chevron case is a more recent case. And in that case, if you think about the water crisis in Flint and how we knew that the water was contaminated, or if you think about any crisis really anywhere, and we're looking at when we had the baby formula drama, right? Because like it was contaminated.
Right.
Like literally they're saying, you know what, those people that are experts and they can determine what is acceptable for our water levels, what's acceptable to be in our food.
Right.
We don't want them to have that control anymore. We want to take control of it, which does not make any sense.
Okay.
Because becoming a Supreme Court justice doesn't mean that you're somehow now an expert in science and all these other things. But that's where they are on it. So that's what the Chevron case did. It's taking away the power from actual experts.
Right.
And then the Supreme Court is supposed to do it. Not to mention the Supreme Court is going after affirmative action, right? So
you're taking away a lot of things that were put in place to kind of like help
protect. They're taking away our protections. Yeah. So affirmative action. Some people say, well, I'm not trying to go to college anyway, or I don't want to go to an Ivy League anyway. So what does that have to do with me? It has everything to do with you.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're taking the affirmative action decision that they just got, which was brought by an Asian American, right? And actually I just saw an article that said that Asian enrollment has gone down since they brought that case. But nevertheless, what they're now extrapolating out of this case is, well, who is it that's allowed to get federal contracts? Is this right? Now you're talking about our money.
Right.
So we've never gotten to the point that people were getting the federal contracts that they should, but now it's affecting us economically. We saw what they did to the Fearless Fund. The Fearless Fund said, listen, we are giving money specifically to Black women-owned businesses because we are the most underfunded. No matter if it's politics, business, whatever it is, we don't ever get the money that we need. So they wanted to focus in specifically on Black women. They're like, no, you can't do that because basically we're over this diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's unfair to all the white people. If the Black people go do something for the Black people, that's unfair to all the white people, even though when we look at the history of it, I mean, who runs the majority of the money?
Right.
It ain't Black folk, right? Like, so it's those kind of things. So while people may feel like, well, I wasn't a part of that case, so that doesn't have anything to do with me, it has everything to do with you.
Right.
And I try to tell people, you know, even when you look at the Dobbs decision in abortion, it's not really about whether or not you agree with abortion or not. Like, I don't really care what your stance is on abortion.
But you have the option to choose.
You have the option to choose, but more importantly, if you say that it's okay for them to come after my right to control my body, just know that there may be some things that you want to do with your body that it's now giving leeway for them to go after. So I made this point in a hearing one time when I decided I was going to talk about Viagra. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, just so y'all know. Like, I mean, this is laying the foundation for them to come at you about some Viagra, which some of y'all may care about, and you may not want the people in your business.
Okay, that part. Okay, so Project 25. Explain that to me like I'm 5.
Oh, God.
In the shortest, quickest way. Because people right now, you hear Project 25, but there's people who don't even know what that is.
Okay, so my shortest explanation is Google. And in real life, I do tell people, figure out what the most important thing is to you. Google that thing along with Project 2025, and then determine if you like it or dislike it. If you dislike it, you vote for Harris. If you like it, then you vote for the orange one. So I will say that it is almost like, and it's sad because we obviously just had the shooting in Georgia, but it's almost like basically somebody sat down and did a manifesto and told you that they were about to harm you, and you either have the ability to stop them from bringing a gun to the situation and hurting you, or you can just sit there and be shot up.
Yeah.
This has a bullet for every one of us, and it doesn't matter who you are. In fact, I was able to lay out some of the things that they are trying to do in Project 2025 that's literally coming for our farmers.
Wow.
So, like, I mean, everybody can get something.
Right.
You know, there literally is an attack on everybody. So, essentially, any civil rights protections that we currently have, whether it's in our federal governments or otherwise, they want to delete that. It mentions Trump over 300 times, even though he wants to run away from it. It was drafted by over 30 people that either served in his administration or served on his campaign. It basically wants to go even further on reproductive restrictions to the extent that they don't want you to have birth control. So yeah,
That's
they
crazy.
go further. Yeah, no, they don't want you to have birth control.
Ladies,
just sit there, just sit there and get pregnant.
And then there's nothing you can do about it.
And there's nothing under any circumstances. So they really do want a national abortion ban. They also want to go after Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare.
It's basically threatening like people's freedom, like actual freedom.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. They also want to get rid of the Department of Education. They want to consolidate power. Yeah, I'm just telling you what's in the book.
Of all the things to get rid of, education?
But seriously though, the less educated people are, the easier it is to control somebody.
They want to keep
this is how you control people. Yeah, I mean, this is how you control people. They require that any mention of climate change be removed. So no mention of climate change anywhere, anything. So they don't believe in that. The Department of Justice would now essentially become just another pawn under the president. So the president can do whatever he wants to. So he can then use the Department of Justice to go after people. So, I mean, everybody can get some in there.
Right.
Yeah.
It ain't safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe for anybody. Okay, the last one, explain this to me like I'm 5. The president's role. Because, you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there that, you know, not even misinformation, just a lot of misunderstanding of what the president's actual role is and how they impact certain things. You know, you'll hear, well, this, you know, happened in, you know, Trump's administration or in Biden's or Obama's. And like, can you just explain in the simplest way for people to understand the president's role?
All right. So just so people understand, we have 3 co-equal branches of government.
Yes.
Meaning that no branch is supposed to be more powerful than the other. It's all equal. At the same time, the people that occupy those branches have more or less power. The most powerful person is the president because he's a co-equal branch of government, but it's only him. Right? Versus in the House, it's 435 of us. In the Senate, it's 100 of them. And then obviously with the Supreme Court only has 9 justices, but that's a whole other issue. We need to expand the court. But nevertheless, like, you can see like who's more powerful within that branch that they occupy. So he is the most, he or she is the most powerful in the branch that they occupy. But we're still co-equal, right? So the thing is, for me to get anything done, I gotta go find, you know, 200 something people to help me out to get something passed. So usually the president, number one, sets an agenda. They set an agenda that usually includes their budget, right? So they lay out and they say, this is the budget that I want. And then it's up to the legislative branch to decide whether or not they're going to take the whole budget, some parts of it, that kind of stuff, agree with it, whatever. But the very basic functions that we are absolutely required to perform is to keep the lights on, like to actually keep the government itself going. But the president gets to say, you know what? This is the person that I want to run the DOJ. I'm gonna nominate them. This is the person that I want sitting on the Supreme Court. I'm gonna nominate them. But it's not just a nomination. Like you nominate, and then usually it is the U.S. Senate that then has to decide whether or not they're going to confirm it. So it still doesn't give him or her exclusive power. But essentially, we pass bills. It may be something that was a part of the president's agenda or not. And the president gets to decide if he is ultimately going to allow that to be enacted into law by signing it, or if he's going to veto it. What we saw in the first 2 years, because we've not functioned since the first 2 years of their administration, is he set out a policy agenda. And he said, I want to see the Inflation Reduction Act brought to life. I want to see the Infrastructure Act. I want to see the Chips and Science Act. So people within his team worked to kind of put together this legislation. And then they worked to build a consensus in the House and in the Senate to get it done. So the legislation theoretically initiated of them, and then it was pushed forward. Trump didn't really have very much legislation that he initiated, except for the tax cuts. And the tax cuts was like, yo, if you super rich, you should be paying less because we so happy because you the rich people to give us jobs. But you poor people, we gonna make sure that y'all endure the majority of the burden to run this country. We ain't giving y'all no tax relief.
How does it make you feel when you hear people say, "Oh, I'm voting for Trump because he gave us a stipend"?
Don't talk to me about them stimmy checks. Do not talk to me about them stimmy checks. You cannot talk to me about a stimmy check unless you know how you got the stimmy check.
Right.
And as the vice president was talking on Labor Day, because the Democrats were laboring on Labor Day while somebody else was posted up. But nevertheless, one of the things that she said is, she started trying to educate people about the importance of unions, whether you in them or not. She said, you better thank a union. Well, let me tell you something. You better thank a Democrat for them daggone stimmy checks. That is my message.
Right.
Because, again, I just explained to you the co-equal branches of government.
Right.
It was Nancy Pelosi who was running the House at the time, not Bag of Mike, but Nancy. It was Sister Nancy.
Right.
You need to thank Nancy.
Right.
Because it was the House Democrats and the Senate Democrats that actually came up with the American Rescue Plan Act, which is where that money came from. It was Trump who had to decide whether or not he would sign it into law. He agreed to sign the American Rescue Plan Act into law, which gave you PPP. It gave you all the things, okay?
Yeah.
But it came from the Democrats. And he slowed down them stimmy checks,
Right.
because he decided he wanted to put his name on them. It actually, y'all can Google this.
Yeah.
You can Google it. It was the Democrats. Thank a Democrat. And this last point I'm gonna make about these daggone stimmy checks, because I don't want to hear nothing about it. First of all, you're not getting them again. You're not getting them again. It was because of COVID. Second of all, what they did was they did introduce the child tax credit as well. And the good part about the child tax credit is that people got up to $300 per child a month. But again, we wasn't playing with it. So it wasn't about getting credit for it. It was about just kind of taking care of people, which is what Democrats do. In addition to that, you got other stimmy checks. They came from Joe. Joe signed the other ones, y'all.
Right,
but he did not play games and say, well, let me put my name on it.
Yeah.
Instead, he allowed for those to just be directly deposited. So Joe did sign more stimmy into law as well.
Would you ever run for president?
No.
No? Why not?
No, this country is not, I don't think that they could see a Jasmine as president.
I mean, in 10, 20 years, perhaps?
I still don't think they could.
What do you think, how do you see the future of the black political leadership within, the next decade?
It just depends on who's willing to give black politicians a chance. You know, one of the reasons that I do admire and adore the VP so much is that she is legitimately what I would call a real one. Because it's not good enough for her to look out for herself. Even as she's climbing, she's pulling along. You brought up that I'm a co-chair of the campaign. I am the youngest co-chair for this presidential campaign. And I don't know that we can find in the history of the DNC that they've ever allowed for a black woman freshman to grace the stage, especially during prime time. I don't know that we can find another scenario where you find a black woman freshman that has been appointed as a co-chair. So this is somebody that believes in lifting as she climbs. And so depending on how those that are put into position that look like us decide to treat those positions, whether or not we will continue to elevate, will determine where we go as black politicians and how far we will be able to climb.
What is it like for you as a black woman, and just a woman in general, in this space to watch this in real time, and also for the first time in this sense with Kamala?
It's surreal. You know, I love this country. I fight for the people in this country, but I still, in the back of my mind, have doubts at times about what this country is willing to do. And so I am so grateful for those that paved the way, the Shirley Chisholms of the world, that made a way for a Kamala Harris to be the nominee. But at the same time, you know, I am working my butt off because I'm so nervous that this country may do wrong when they have this great opportunity. And it's not just because she's a black woman, but I'm frustrated because I'm looking at this and I'm saying, let Kamala be the one with 34 felony convictions on hundreds of millions of dollars, not being able to operate a business at all in the state of New York, having been impeached twice, have married at least 3 times, having I don't know how many baby mamas, or in her case, baby daddies. She would not be the nominee.
No, she wouldn't even be vice president.
She wouldn't be anywhere near this, right? So like, I'm looking at this scenario and I'm saying, yo, all the polls are close and they're saying that she may lose, when she literally, it is the epitome of what it is to be a person of color, especially a woman of color in this country, where when we say we have to work 10 times as hard just to get into the building, we mean that. Ain't nobody gave us nothing. And the fact that this guy is convinced that he should or could fail up is infuriating to me. So for me, I'm like, you know what? If this race is close, that means that we could technically lose, and it doesn't make sense. And it's not fair to future generations. It's not fair to anyone if this is what we do, because this is somebody that threatens our democracy, as well as literally is just not equipped, not only not to be the president of the United States, but we are ultimately electing the leader of the free world, and this is a guy that's always trying to pal around with Russia. Russia ain't our friend. Like, he don't understand the basics. So I'm very nervous, but I'm also encouraged at the same time. So I'm a ball of emotions.
There's a lot of celebrities who, you know, choose not to speak on any political things or worldly issues. Do you think that they should use their voice in that way, or do you think that it's fair for them to stay out of it? Like, it's, you know.
I think it's a personal decision. I will never try to tell someone how to use their platform. I will say that I'm most appreciative to those that do understand that it's always taken a village for us to rise. And so I applaud all of those that have agreed to be a part of the village. And it may come at a risk or a cost to them, and that they're willing to take that risk or cost. I'm thankful for them. Because Lord knows I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people that were willing to risk sometimes their lives. And I carry that with me every day that I'm given the privilege to serve, knowing that there were those that never knew that there would be a Jasmine Crockett, but they knew that they needed to do more.
Do you think there's anyone using their platform in an irresponsible way?
Girl, yeah, a whole bunch of them. Hell.
How does it work? Because if you look at someone like Amber Rose, for example, right? Is this something where she's being paid to do this?
I don't know what she is, but I know I will tell you this. I don't really support people that are ill-informed. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me, mm-hmm. but it's pushing the misinformation out there that is problematic for me. So, for instance, I don't know that one boy. They was trying to tell me I knew him. He sings some song. I don't know the boy. I don't know. They was saying he was part of a group. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. He was part of a group, and then he came out, and he was like, he all for Donald Trump. It was some little black dude. Anyway, but he
Kodak
said,
Black?
No, because I know their name. It was some boy. It was, I don't know. He part of some little group. But anyway, that guy was like, listen, I'm voting for Trump because I need my taxes to stay low. Listen, you're at least being honest. Yeah. Like this is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I disagree with you. Like you being real selfish, but I get it. Yeah. Like you're looking out for yourself. You're being honest about it. Cool. But like trying to act like he was the great white hope and he was saving black folk, that's what we not gonna do.
Right.
Because the data is clear.
Yeah, I find it hard that, again, using someone like Amber Rose, who she really pioneered like the slut walk that's, supposed to protect women be who they are, what they want to be, but is really writing for someone, the candidate who will not protect women.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just wonder, like, do they get paid for that, or is this something that,
some people, in my opinion, are doing stuff just to kind of become relevant. Yeah. Like they're just like who was talking about Amber Rose? Mm-hmm. Like nobody had been talking about Amber Rose, and then all of a sudden she MAGA.
True.
So now she is part of the conversation.
Yeah.
There are people that love to create the drama just so that they can be relevant. But my deal is there are real lives attached to this, so I don't need you looking for your relevancy or trying to clout chase. Like if you are going to use your platform to educate people, then how about you do that? Do your own research before you get out here and you mislead people, right? And it's, and it's tough as a civil rights lawyer for black folk to tell me that they want to vote for Trump when this dude is literally saying, you know what, we want to make sure that there is immunity for police officers.
Crazy.
We already have qualified immunity. You already say, yo, when you kill a black person, chances are you not gonna get a check.
Yeah.
You just gone. Like thoughts and prayers, like that's what you already say. Now you're saying, now that we have progressive prosecutors that will say no one is above the law, so we will go after you. Now you're like, well, I don't think that that's good, that an officer who goes out and kills somebody that looks like me and you, well, that's okay. No jail, no money. Like, and y'all like, oh, this our guy. Why?
Right.
Like, I need to be clear. Like, he is not like us. Like, why you sitting up here talking about, well, he didn't been to jail? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, he also, first of all, as somebody who's done criminal defense, pre-trial, right? This dude got all these cases.
Right.
He's still walking free. That's not what it is.
Like, why is that allowed?
Like, yeah, again. He has a privilege that we don't enjoy, even in the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
He is still enjoying privilege that we don't get. And I can tell you, he's not gonna cut for you, and he's not gonna be the person that says, "Oh, we need to do bail reform." He ain't gonna say that.
Right.
He ain't gonna be the bail reform champion.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's good for him to walk free, but like, oh, the rest of y'all criminals. No, not y'all. Like, and so I'm like, I need y'all to wake up. Which again, they always want to be like, "Oh, you so woke." Yeah, because when I'm sleeping, that's when you play games with me. Like, I need everybody to stay woke. And I also don't think that anyone should feel like, oh, well, if I don't agree with you 100%, then that means I'm either out the game or I just shouldn't, like, find a space. You will never agree with anybody 100%. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you love your wife? You love your husband? Do you agree with them all the time?
Right.
Chances are you don't, but you stay with them.
For people who are in the middle about both candidates, how would you advise them to move forward to still vote? And how should they vote if they're in the middle and like, I don't like either or, so I'm not voting? Like,
well, one of them gonna become president.
Right. Exactly.
And here's the deal. I don't know why we cede our power, because the thing is, if you own a business and you're paying somebody to work for you, are you not going to then evaluate them or make a decision about whether or not they get promoted or not?
Right.
You are paying us to work for you. So why are you going to sit there and be like, well, never mind, I'm just not going to do it? I say that we have more access to information than anyone has ever had before. Again, I'm telling you, you can go and look up my video of me talking to one of the authors of Project 2025. Like, they have made it clear what their plan is. It is almost 1,000 pages. If you agree with what it says, then go vote for Trump. Like, I'm legitimately, like, just Google whatever one issue is most important. Also, we've got the debate coming up, and you need to listen.
You're about to eat up that debate.
Like you need to listen.
Yeah.
Like, the economy is number one. The economy is number one, and one issue Democrats were having a problem with is they were like, oh, the numbers are great. Look at the job numbers. Look at, you know, the 501k. Child, that ain't what people talking about when they talking about the economy.
Right.
They're talking about the cost of housing. And so I appreciate our vice president so much because she really listens, right? So as you can see, she started talking about housing. She's also laid out a housing plan. She's like, listen, if you are trying to be a first-time home buyer, then you can get $25,000 payment assistance, so down payment assistance, so you can move into a home, because she doesn't control the interest rates.
Well, what's the role of government in regulating the economy?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot of layers. I ain't got time to go through all the layers.
Yeah.
But let me just say that, like, something as simple as food. I say as simple as food. Food is not simple. Okay. So everybody's like, the cost of food is high. There's a lot of things that go into the cost of food. Okay. One of the things that go into the cost of food is literally the labor that it costs to actually get the food. So food don't just appear at the grocery store. Somebody got to go work the farms. Right now, as somebody that serves on the ag committee and talks to farmers all the time, they don't have the labor that they need. You know why? Because everybody's demonized migrants. But every time I walk into a room and I say things like, so you raising your child to be a farmer? Don't nobody raise their hands.
Right.
So who you think working the farms? Just random people falling out the sky? Like, no. So, like, migrants come over, they work the farm, but because we have a very strong dollar, regardless of what anybody believes about our economy, our dollar is stronger than most other places.
Yep.
So they can come over here, work the farm, then send the money back home. That money goes a very long way for them, even though they're not necessarily being paid a ton of money.
Right.
That keeps the cost of food down. But now, because we're having this fight about migrants and whatever, not recognizing that not everybody coming over here trying to hurt us, but actually they're coming over because they're trying to survive, and they're trying to contribute to our economy. So that's number one. That's one of the costs. You have other issues where we've got price gouging within the food cycle. So we just heard from an executive at Kroger who admitted that they've been price gouging. So not everything is inflation, right? Like, some things are, some things aren't. Some things we can control, some things we can't. So it's just a lot of layers into what government can and can't do. Can we do something on immigration so that we can go ahead and actually move people in that want to work and make sure that they get work visas, and now they're paying into our Social Security, and they're paying into all these things that they can't draw the money down on. So there's, like, benefits, but it just takes people that are willing to do more than listen to just like a soundbite, because these conversations are so much more complicated. You know, on housing, some of the issues that we have with housing are things that we can control, others aren't. For instance, we can't control the fact that we don't have, like, that our supply chains are still not fully loosened up, that we don't have access to everything that we need. One of those things that we need is nickel, which it gets deep.
Right.
But I'm just saying, there's a lot of layers to every single thing that we do, and there are parts of these layers that the government can't control. There's parts of the layers that we can't control. What we can control, we should try to do that. And what we can't, you know, we just gotta deal with it.
You're so smart and educated. Are you dating?
I mean, I'm open.
No.
No.
Would you date someone who was not educated on politics?
Oh, absolutely.
You would?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, they can't be a Trumper,
right?
But yes,
So
I would.
They
absolutely.
just can't be a Trumper, but they can be.
Yeah, no, I
educated.
cannot.
Okay.
Oh, no, I cannot. No, because
Yeah.
I mean that.
So you wouldn't mind, like, being the person to educate them?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
You got somebody in mind?
Yeah. I'm gonna set you up.
I can't.
I'm gonna set you up. I got the perfect person in mind. Just let me know your type. What's your type in 5 words?
5 words. Christian.
Okay.
Since I was gonna say loves God, that would took too many words. And honestly, just very humble.
Okay.
Christian, humble, honest.
Financially stable.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my last 2. There you go, 5.
5 words. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up with a quick and fast little game. This one's gonna go by fast. So obviously, you know, you infamously called Marjorie Taylor Greene. I gotta read this right because it's a tongue twister. A bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
I love your accent on it. Go ahead.
Did you just have that one in the chamber?
I did not.
That was so good. That was so good.
I didn't have it in the chamber.
Was that the first time someone ever tried you like that in that space?
Yes. Yes, and it should be the last.
And it should be the last. Okay, I think it will be. I think it will be. Okay, so give these people the first nicknames or descriptions that come to mind, good or bad. Okay.
Oh, okay.
First person, Donald Trump.
So you say it first.
Drake.
Oh, lost.
Kendrick Lamar.
The king.
The king. Kamala Harris.
The next president.
The next president. Joe Biden.
Hero.
Michelle Obama.
The GOAT.
The GOAT, yes. The Shade Room.
The GOAT. No, the shadiest.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Well, this was so fun. Thank you so much for stepping into the shade. Let me see.
And
what
now
your
we got
toes are
matching
looking
toes and feet.
Yes.
I mean toes and hands.
So cute. I love it. I love it. This is like my go-to. Like natural nail, French tip. I stay here. Is there anything?
You said this was your specialty.
It's cute. It's real cute.
Thank you.
And I love your shirt. My black job is to go vote. Absolutely.
Go vote. That's right.
What are some last words you want to leave people with today? Plug your stuff, anything, all the good stuff.
Essentially, listen, ain't nobody coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. So it's a matter of whether or not you decide that you're going to get up off the couch and do your part. I get that a lot of us want everything to land in our lap, but that's not the reality. We all grown. And so I really want you to do your research. I'm not here to tell you exactly how to vote. Y'all know how I'm voting. You know why I'm voting that way. But I really think that it's important that in a democracy, especially one that we are fighting for, one that we are fighting to maintain, that we participate. And so do your research. I think if you do your research, you'll come to the same conclusion I've come to. But even still, I just want you to participate. So make sure y'all find out whether or not your Republicans have kicked you off the rolls to vote, number one. If you're not registered to vote, how to register to vote. You can go to iwillvote.com, as well as make sure that you know where to go to vote. And make sure you vote up and down the ballot, because you're not going to see my name on the ballot. But there may be another Jasmine Crockett that's waiting in the wings, somebody that is a fearless fighter, and because y'all didn't do y'all research or show up, then you didn't have somebody else that you could send to Congress who would fight in a very authentic, real way for you every single day.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Jasmine Crockett, for stepping into the shade room and, wishing you and your party and all parties the best of luck. Yeah, so let's do a little final look at our toesies and our nails. All right, let's cheers. Thank you, Jasmine. Cheers. Go vote. Go vote.
Yes, go vote.
Go vote.
Hey roommates, if you want to see more celebs stepping into the shade room, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here.